What's happening, people? What is up? What is up? So who is here? Need to check in, because you know brother don't want to be here talking to himself. And today we're covering a pretty important topic. That's if someone shows up. So we need to see who's here. Who's here? Trying something new because according to YouTube, y'all are supposed to be online at this hour. So let's see if that is in fact the case. Like I said, what's happening, peoples? What's happening? So who's here? Who's here? Let me see. All right, so I had to make some changes. Still learning, folks. Still learning. Still learning. Oh man, this is crazy. See, this is what happens when you get out of the loop for a minute. Forgot to change the status of the stream, so hopefully, let me see if I'm streaming now. And one playback, no concurrent views. So let's see, one viewer. So I will wait for a minute. I will wait for a second and see who funnels in. So funnel in, people. I gotta remember to I'll just edit out all the fluff in the beginning, but I gotta remember to make sure that I set my status to public, because that was part of the problem just now. So I will hang out for a second and see who flies by. I got like a 1 second delay, so let's just hang out for a second. Drink me some of my water. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I gotta check this out. All right. Get out of the loop. Might wind up having to pull the plug on this one for a second and start over. Okay. So who's here? Sign in and tell me what's happening, Because you know a brother ain't going to sit here and talk to himself. One viewer, two viewers, one viewer, two viewers. Who's here? So I don't want Google lying to me, talking about people on at this hour and then ain't nobody on. I'm going to stop following Google. Because Google told me that y'all was around at this hour. All right, so... Let me place a phone call because I detect that something is wrong. I'm going to call my technical support people. My tech support people. Ask them qué pasó. Ay, caramba, mira. Ay, 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 ay. I'm about to scrap this stream. Okay. I do detect that there is a technical glitch in this situation because no one is communicating with me. So either Google lied or I did something wrong. So as it stands, boys and girls, Warren's gonna kill the stream. 2 concurrent viewers and 1 like. I don't know who liked it, but if anybody's here, and if no one is here in the next going on, let's see, I've been streaming approximately 10 minutes, just about. Let me see. Yeah, approximately 10 minutes. If no one's here, I'm gonna kill this. Weather music. Oh, bip, bip, bip. Somebody popped in. I was wondering. I was a little concerned. Weather music. You look rather new. What's happening? Talk to me. Like I said, because brother ain't gonna sit here and talk to himself. You know, because this is some good information, but if just one person here, I will hold on to the chat because a lot of people will probably look at it on the playback. Google gave me bad information, told me that most of the audience was online at this time. So I'm going to have to scrap that one because that's not true. But you're here, so I will proceed. You saved the live stream, man. So tell me, I don't think I've seen you in the live stream before, so talk to me. Give me a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, etc. Okay? And then I will proceed with my presentation. And I will wait also for additional folks to show up. Let me see. I see another 3 viewers. Yeah, you doing good? Okay. 4 viewers. Okay. Who else is here? Sign in. Sign in. So Weather Music, what are you up to, man, these days? What are you working on musically? You know, give me a little bit more background about what's happening with you. Mr. Pirate Brain. I've been good, man. Can't complain. Busy, you know, this whole situation with the coronavirus has got not only myself but a lot of my colleagues, we having to rethink how we're going to work going forward because you know, I don't think I can just shut down for another 3 months. Like, I put myself on a 6-month timeline, and with this whole situation, what has happened is it has caused a lot of people to rethink how we're going to have to work going forward. I'm going to be doing a whole other series talking to a whole lot of my professional friends about that, because a lot of them are stuck. I mean, a lot of these people had good jobs, and now what has happened is that they're now having to rethink how they're going to work, myself included. So whereas a lot of these individuals who were not technical people or maybe technically inclined are finding themselves, if they want to survive, they're going to have to become technically inclined in order to charge for their services, because the music's not going to stop. You know, music is not going away. The music business is not going away, but you know, the way people and musicians interact, that's about to, you know, have a paradigm shift. So folks are going to either have to get on board or they're going to get left. You know, it's one or the other. And Weather Music, you're a drummer with a home studio looking for info. I hope. You know, I appreciate you both being here. I just want to let you know that's important, because I was about to hit the stop switch in a minute. I ain't gonna be sitting there talking to myself. Y'all know that's not in keeping with what I do. So I'm glad y'all came, though, because the last couple of videos with regards to compressors, as I've been fielding the feedback, and let me see if I'm good volume wise, as I've been fielding the feedback from the viewers, what has been happening is become painfully clear to me that there's this huge omission that is happening with most individuals who are trying to get a grasp on what a compressor is supposed to do. I think I've conquered that to a degree. What's missing now is practical application in terms of individuals really knowing how to thanks, man, I appreciate it. The volume is good. Great. In terms of how to apply what I've shared so far in an actual practical application. So with regards to someone like Weather Music, who is a drummer who has a studio, and you know for yourself that drums can be loud. Okay, you just built up your home studio in search. My search game, of course, John. Oh, cool, man. I appreciate you saying that, Weather Music. That's good information. I hope that I've been helpful. You know, just trying to share what I've learned through these many years. You know, so this is important for you, primarily because you do play drums, and you know, one thing about drummers, and we're very particular with our sound. You know, I've been in situations where, you know, if someone else is in control of the overall sound of your kit, you know, that can be a not too good circumstance. So one thing I have known, have understood throughout the years, is that a lot of drummers are extremely technically inclined, as well as very particular with how their drums sound. So you're in the right place. We're going to talk about something that's very important that I think you need to know with regards to the setting of a compressor like the KT-76 or any compressor for that matter, because the information shared today is relevant to any compressor, regardless of if it's like the DBX 163X or if it's like something like the 166, which will give you a more control over maybe the release time and the attack time, or if it's something as maybe seemingly obtuse as a KT-76 or an 1176. So this information is very important. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And this is a test for the both of you who are here and for anyone else who is tuning in on the playback. Between the two of you who are here, what is the single most important thing that is applicable to all music, regardless of genre? I'm looking for feedback from you all, because this will tell me how you process information when it comes to compression. So tell me, what is the single most important thing that is applicable to all music, regardless of genre? Go. I'll look for your comments in the chat. And I'm going to have a sip of some water while you all answer me. Y'all don't know, brother be getting cotton mouth like it ain't nobody's business. Sit up here looking like I got false teeth or something. Can't be with that. That's whack. So, okay. So, well, the music, you don't know, man. I try to keep it real, But yeah, a joke here and a joke there. But anyway, drummer. Okay, yeah, man. I've over here and the specs are good. Okay, but the question was, what is the single most important thing that is applicable to all genres of music? That's will tell me, and will give me a better understanding as to maybe how you might apply compression. So that's the question for both dynamics control. Okay, yes, true, to some degree, but I'm saying to some degree for a reason. Okay, and I'll wait for this is a test for weather music as well. But dynamics, yes, that's important. That is important. And okay, all right. No one offered this as an answer. I will offer it. Let me fix my seat here. Time. As a drummer, you know that. Time. Can't get away from it. The quarter note pulse is the single most important thing. Now, with that in mind, here's where a lot of people get themselves in trouble. When they get this particular unit, they'll get in there and they'll start twisting knobs. And that's okay if you just want to exploit its ability to manipulate sound. That's fine, if that's what you want to do. But like you said, Mr. Private Brand, dynamics control is applicable to virtually every instrument. Why do I say virtually? He says you're all over the map when it comes to styles. Well, this is good information because, like I said, with regardless of whatever genre of music you're playing, by and large, time and the pulse and the metronome and the metronomic beat of music is applicable to all music, regardless of whether it's classical. That's why, if you've gone to a symphony, you see they have a conductor. He's the dictator of time. You know, if you've recorded in the studio, you know that as a drummer, sometimes they'll ask you to play with a click track. You know, you got to make sure that you're nailing the clicks so that if they have to do any editing, you know, it's easier to edit to a grid, provided that the drummer has good enough time to provide decent edits for the song. But that aside, where a lot of people get themselves in trouble with units like these is that they ignore the metronome, which is a cardinal sin. They ignore not just the metronome or the beat. Cardinal sin number 2 is that they ignore the subdivision of the beat. Now, what am I talking about? If this is this is music 101. Quarter notes split into quarter notes split into eighth notes split into 16ths split into 30 seconds. Now, it is highly improbable in any sort of musical circumstance that you will encounter having to set anything release time wise beyond an eighth note. Clip Wilson, hey, what's up, brother? I'm glad you're here, man. You're right on time because I'm in the thick of it. So if this is your beat, I'm gonna play the metronome for you real quick. I want you to pay attention to this. This is very important. Here's your beat. As soon as my metronome comes up, I've got the metronome app. And some of these apps is whack, man. Although some of them are really good too, though. I mean, like if you're doing ear training, I don't know if you'll get into deep like that, but you know, that's like if you want to train, do ear training and things like that. Well, here's the beat. Listen. Now here's the beat. 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, pop, 2. Here's a bit subdivision. 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and. That's a subdivision in eighths. 1 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 4. It's a 16th note subdivision. So if you're not keeping that in mind while you're dealing with the compressor, you're doing yourself a disservice automatically. Because if you improperly set the release time, or if the release time is set to maybe the subdivision, and if the subdivision laps over into or crosses over into the next beat, that's where you get the pumping and breathing. So you can't eliminate that from the equation. Now, check this out. Another thing one must give consideration to is the envelope of a signal. Even as I'm talking now, I have an attack, a sustain, attack, a decay, a sustain, and a release time on whatever it is that you're listening to and whatever it is that you're hearing. Now, on some instruments, like let's take a violin, for instance, maybe the attack time is not as powerful, and the sustain time is not that point where you get the initial attack, the strum of the string with the bow, and then the sustain of it. It's not going to be as powerful as the attack time from a snare drum. Period. It's not. So imagine, if you will, you just want, that you have a beautiful violin passage or solo in a song, and you want it to sit. This is now I think you said it earlier, Mr. Pirate Brent, that the most important thing is to have good dynamics. Where people struggle and where they rely on maybe plugins or otherwise, is setting the compressor so that you do have less dynamics control when it comes to mix time. Because in raising, the purpose of the compressor is to contain dynamics. We understand that. You want to make sure that things, when it comes to mix time, sit well. Now, you want the best dynamic range from the top and ignoring the noise floor of whatever preamp you're using at the same time. You want to be in the middle, but closer to the top in the case of a violin. Why? Because the violin has a less aggressive transient response. What am I talking about? Look at this. Look at this real quick. In this diagram, the initial attack is the first thing you hear. Like take a snare drum, for instance. When you hear that pop, that's the initial, attack. But the pinnacle of this point is where the signal is at its most powerful. If you want to doubt what I'm saying, improperly set your preamp, and you will see that every time you pop that snare drum, or every time you hit it, it's going to be at that peak where you get the most strength. But at the same time, it decays at a seemingly faster point because of the nature of the instrument. That doesn't change the fact that it's a transient instrument. It just changes the fact that you're going to get this attack and the decay of the instrument from the outset. Does it have a long sustain like a violin? No. Does it have a release time? Absolutely. Now, this envelope may be a little bit narrower when you're talking about a snare drum. But what is relative to this, the envelope of this sound? It's still time. Now, this envelope that you're looking at of the snare drum or any other instrument, that's happening constantly throughout the song. Your job, or the compressor's job in relationship to what you're doing, is to manage that throughout the course of the composition or the song as it's being played. I hope I'm being clear. I'll take any questions in a minute, but it is important that we keep pulse, the subdivision for the release time of the compressor, in mind, so that we don't have this pumping and breathing happening while we're having that violin solo, while we have the long sustaining notes of a ballad being sung by a singer. It's still all subjected to time in motion. The song's going to be X amount of minutes long. That note value, maybe in verse 2, this vocalist holds the note for a half note as opposed to the quarter note. You got to make sure that all of these musical elements that are happening in the arrangement have to agree with the way you're setting that compressor. And the biggest problem that I'm noticing that in terms of improperly set compression is a release time. Now, how do I approach it? I'm always thinking, I think because I'm a drummer, I'm always thinking metronomically. That, pulse and beat is always what I'm thinking. Because for a fact, no, this is a fact, you can hear pumping and breathing on a highly transient instrument like the drums quicker than you could hear it on the vocals. I got a message from one of the viewers last week, and his problem was like, I don't see the needle moving. It's not necessary. Maybe your signal is not crossing the threshold into the point where compression is needed. That's okay. That's fine. Let the compressor do its job as it's supposed to, as long as you are paying attention. And that's why I was saying, I think in a couple of other live streams ago, with regards to the KT-2A, which has a slower attack time, I was saying that I'm always looking at the gain reduction meter and always fiddling with the peak reduction knob. Why? Because I only want X amount. You have to ask yourself, how much gain reduction does this particular song or this particular instrument need for the song? Because sometimes sometimes too much is too much. And sometimes you don't need a lot of gain reduction. You just want the instrument to sit. And see, I think I know not think a lot of people no, like I said that a couple of live streams ago. I have friends of mine that are plug-in junkies, plugins. And I think having only access in my time being spent using analog gear, having access to just one or two pieces in the studio caused you to have to learn to set things properly so that you only have one 1176 available to you. Get the vocal to sit right, and then we'll be able to use it. I mean, be a little judicious in how you set it. Make sure it agrees with the composition as you are recording the vocal, and then reuse the same unit on maybe another instrument. The object is just to get all of these elements in the composition to agree so that you don't have all this fighting taking place come mix time, because you're gonna, well, back in the day you had a mix engineer, but you're going to have to mix it at some point. So taking care of problems from the outset dynamically, I think is the single most important thing, period. You know, because it's going to present itself in the future. And see, a lot of youngsters, what they do, oh, well, I'll fix it. I got the Waves SSL, or I got this, I got that. That's okay. That's fine. It sounds nothing like the real thing, but take care of problems from the outset, and most of your issues will be solved, you know, period, you know, when it comes to mix time. So let's look at some statements here. Star Studios is in the house. Hey, I'm glad to see you, man. Glad you're here. Okay, whether it's like an open jazz kit versus an RB. Yeah, okay, well, if you're looking at it from that perspective, exactly. That's a very good example. Because if I'm miking my jazz kit, I'm using maybe more of a distant situation, as you know, as I did when I was miking Yuko Togami's kit. You know, she plays a Canopus kit, and I just recorded their trio record. And you know, you don't want close mics because the attack is going to be too much. In order to get the more organic sound at the same time while containing dynamics, is to back the mics off. So yeah, you're going to get less of a transient response from the snare drum if you go with a more distant mic situation. But I mean, and that makes sense. You know, think about it. When your mics are close to the drum head, the transient response of the attack time is going to be sharper. You know, and this is something for just about anyone who's using any type of compressor. I mean, just as an experiment to tune your ears, play with a 57. You know, at close miking it to snare drum versus mid mic versus distant mic, and listen to the transient response of the snare drum. You have to listen to how it sounds, because you're gonna hear more of a pingy sound if the mic is closer. Now, some mics have the ability to withstand high sound pressure levels. The 57 is one of them. But does that necessarily mean that you must mic it closely and rely on the compressor to give you what you're looking for? No, because that's going to totally change the character of the drum. I mean, already the initial attack of a snare drum with a close mic 57, it's automatically changed the tone of the drum. It doesn't sound natural. That drum that you hit in the room and the drum that's being recorded are two totally different things. So if you want to split the difference, you don't rely so much on the compressor. Or you might want to split the difference between maybe not so much gain reduction on the compressor and maybe mid-miking. You have to have all of these elements working together, as well as the release time to make sure that there's no pumping and breathing against whatever the quarter note pulse of is in the song. That is the only way to eliminate that. You have to keep the metronome in time. The metronome in mind, rather. And the time in mind, so that you don't improperly set the release time. Now, how do I know what I'm saying is true? I remember back in the day, there was an equation and I had to dug it up, and I remember back in the day, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but no, I took it out the rack. I had a digital delay by Delta Labs. Now, there was an equation that we had to use that was for the purpose of finding the quarter note pulse to the song. Okay, so now if we knew that, and this is information for you all, to find the quarter note pulse without any apparatus built into the unit, take the pulse, the tempo, take 60,000 as an equation, divided by the tempo of the song. That will give you the quarter note pulse in milliseconds, okay? Now, let's just use this as an example. 60,000 divided by whatever the tempo of the song, but if it yields you a quarter note millisecond pulse of 250 milliseconds, if you want the eighth note subdivision, quite naturally it's going to be 125 milliseconds. So if you're in a mastering situation where you don't know, or you want to properly set like the warm audio bus comp. Now they have millisecond release time set. You might not be able to nail it, the 125 perfectly, but you might at the same time be able to get it in the neighborhood of whatever is afforded to you on the compressor. So if I wanted to contain the transients to a eighth note pulse based on whatever the tempo is, if it works out to 125 milliseconds, if I can get into the neighborhood of 125, set the release time properly, so that everything is agreeing in terms of release time, 125 in terms of the release time, then I know I'm going to eliminate that pumping and breathing effect. So if you split the 125 down to what's 125 is going to be 60 125 divided by 2. Help me. I'm mathematically challenged for the moment. But whatever that is going to be the 16th note pulse. Setting it millisecond wise, setting it to that might introduce all of the pumping and breathing artifacts, because now you have a faster subdivision working against the metronome or the tempo of the song. I've said a lot, but and I'm trying to bring it all off the top of my head based on what I used to have to do, because I would sit there with a calculator and say, okay, whatever. As a matter of fact, here's my calculator. Let's use that as an example. 60,000. Okay, 60,000. Say divided by 120 beats per minute, works out to 500 milliseconds. Divide that by 4. 125 milliseconds. That is the 16th note subdivision. Suppose at that beat per minute, the tempo wise, what if it's working against the song? You're stuck. You're stuck. You're trying to master something, and the release time is now working against the tempo, the metronomic tempo of the song, whatever the pulse is. So that's where I'm encountering a lot of questions. It's like, okay, well, I'm getting, my man said advice demonstrated. Wish I could. Don't have the material handy. Maybe I will in a future video. Like I said, a lot of this is just coming off the top of my head, because the problems that I'm seeing most people encounter is with regards to the release time. They understand fully how to get good gain reduction. That's not an issue. The release time is where stuff starts to get bastardized. And that comes because there's a point where people just ignore where the tempo and where the pulse, the quarter note pulse is in the song. Dance music, okay, and if you want a better example, a lot of complaint that I got about the Dion Blaze video that I did when I was mastering a friend's music. Dion Blaze, dance music, which has a very rapid quarter note pulse. The challenge is always to make sure that you don't have any pumping and breathing. So how do you control that? You have to find out where the release time is going to fall so that it falls on the beat. If the release time is falling against the beat or crossing over the bar into maybe another subdivision of the beat, maybe an eighth note or 16th, you're going to have problems with pumping and breathing because the release time is improperly set. You got to keep that in mind. It is absolutely important, you know. So this is like a lot of the questions that I keep getting is like, okay, well, the unit sounds great. It sounds like someone complained about the Dion Blaze video. Oh, it sounds squeezed because, you know, that was the nature of the SSL the warm audio bus comp. The nature of a VCA bus, the VCA compressor will yield a more tightly squeezed sound because it's not only using the VCA chip, it's also using mathematics to calculate. It's a lot happening, you know. So how do you compensate for that? Maybe you don't compress it. Maybe you address it while mixing so that the mastering engineer has to spend less time dealing with your release time issues. You know, if you take care of it in the mix, that's why it gets all the way back to my initial statement. Having the ability to keep the release time in mind while you're recording it. You just can't separate yourself from the fact that all these transients, whether they're slow transients or whether they're fast ones like snare drum transients, they are happening in time throughout the duration of the song. Let me stop right there because I'm about to go into another phase of talking, but I want to just revisit some statements. Lions King is in the hizzy, and Giovanni Lotti, let me know if I'm saying your name properly. Give me a thumbs up or like, yo, you just jacked my name up, B. You need to fix that. All right, so just tell me. You would like to know my opinion on the Klark Teknik KT is it possible to steer match them like a bus? Yeah, man. I'm telling you, you youngsters got the best of both worlds. Man, do you know how much that Pure Tech was back? Man, God. To be able to get two of those and treat your mixes, and that's one of my favorite equalizers too, man. So, and Klark Teknik is a company that's been around for a while. Man, I love my British brothers. You know what I mean? They always had the sound on lock. Okay, to a degree. I mean, because when I first heard the SSL, I was like, oh my God, this is the most sterile sound I've ever heard. That was a 4000 way back. I was a youngster then. But I didn't too much care for it because the EQ sound brittle. Everything coming through it sounds so compared to when I was turned out by a Neve 80 series console in the early 80s. It was different, you know. And when I was working with Dana Reed back in the day, you could look him up. He was a music director for CC Winans, and he was a very young producer. We were both young at the time. I was, you know, straggling along, and he was actually doing a lot of production and would always invite me to his dates. But yeah, we did it. He did I forget the guy's name. His Geraldo was the artist. I'm talking about Dana right now. And the first time I actually experienced a Neve console, that 8068 with the and the guy had the valve, the like crank handles on. It was an old Neve console, best console I've ever heard in my life. You know, so then transition into the SSL. It was like, God, in the early SSLs. But yeah, man. Ms. Morphy said learned that in 1985. Yeah, if you talk about the thing. So talking about the formula. Okay, and Star Studio says, is there any formula using song speed to figure better compressor setup for vocals, for example? Yes, but let me address that really quick. Just take the tempo of this song. Okay? Let me type it in really quick, and for you guys, it'll be 60,000 divided by tempo. So if the tempo is 120 beats per minute, that's going to equal, you guys can maybe take a picture of this with you, or screenshot, equal the quarter note pulse. Note pulse. Nowadays, here you go, bam. So nowadays, you have that information available to you in Pro Tools. When I was recording in tape, it was like, okay, whatever the click was set to, that wasn't part of the big picture that you guys are getting in Pro Tools nowadays. So now you have that afforded to you in Pro Tools. It's easy to see what the quarter note pulse is going to be. And of course, you just split that. That's going to give you the subdivision of the quarter note, which is the eighth, and the subdivision of the eighth, which is the 16th, and the 16th turns to 30 seconds. For those of you who read music or understand subdivisions when it concerns a quarter note quaver. Okay, so let's see. Lionskin says he's recording rap vocals. Now, see, this is why. Okay, you're talking about rap vocals. This is why, if you listen to Jay-Z's early stuff, I mean, you youngsters out there now and all these, I'm not big on rap. I'm a big Public Enemy fan, so that just tells you the era that I'm from. Love myself some Chuck D, and Hank Shock Lee. But even if you go back to then, listen to how the vocal sits. That's all you gotta do. And if you want it to sit perfectly, the only thing you need to do is find out where that beat is. Your ear will tell you. Your ear will tell you. Trust your ears, man. Trust your ears. That's the most important thing I could tell you. You got to train your ears to know what compression sounds like. That's why I tell people to listen to limiting. You want to hear good limiting in action? Listen to the chorus on Time, Love, and Tenderness by Michael Bolton. Michael Bolton's Time, Love, and Tenderness. You want to hear good attack on a snare drum from back in the day? Listen to like some early Babyface stuff when he kind of like invented it, like that quick attack and knock from the snare drum. Early Babyface, things like that. But if you want good vocals to sit, I know it's a lot of new people popping up, and everybody's doing everything in Pro Tools. But I'm sorry, y'all, but the early Jay-Z stuff was. And I'm not saying that because these are my peoples and I know the Rockefeller camp. It's just the fact that the stuff was just so perfect in so many ways. Sonically, the early Biggie Small stuff, it was just so sonically perfect. I don't know if that had anything to, well, I'm sure it had a lot to do with it being recorded in analog, but at the same time, it was just like so much attention to detail was being paid from a technical perspective. Listen to how his vocals just sit, and he has a flow that requires that. Now, a lot of these people a lot of the mumble rap that's out, I don't know, man. Listen to early Chuck D, and that'll give you a good idea where you want to have your vocals sit. So let's get back to some questions. Someone asks, Mr. Pirate Brain, how would it work with multi-band compression? You see, let me put it to you this way. I think it is best, multi-band compression is best left to a mastering engineer. Don't use these whack plug-in I'm sorry, y'all, man, but I've heard that tube tech in action. And I can't find anything that comes close to it from a plugin standpoint. So leave multi-band compression to the mastering engineer. That's the last step. And that's only if, okay, the last step, you can't fix or go back and redo the mixes. The release date is on X day. We're at the midnight hour. We can't fix it. We got to use a multi-band. But other than that, leave that to the mastering engineers, man, because that's a black art that my very good friend, who is one of the top mastering engineers at the Hit Factory, Carlton Batts, he will tell you, don't be dilly-dallying around with stuff like that, because you could turn a good mix bad real fast by not knowing how to set a multi-band compressor. So I know, they make it easy with all of the new plugins by I forget the company, Isotope and things like that. And a lot of them sound okay, but they don't come close to what it sounds like when you're dealing with the multi-band coming from a mastering engineer perspective, in my opinion. Everybody's mileage may vary. Okay, so Mr. Morpheus, bro, in 1990 I had two that cost you okay, no. Before I get to Mr. Morpheus' statement, Giovanni said, I'm saying is okay, I'm pronouncing your name. The surname is Iadi? And Idi and okay. Because it says Giovanni Ladi. I got you, bro. Okay, so tell me, Giovanni, you got to tell me where you're tuning in from, because you're kind of new to the stream and I haven't seen you here before, and I want to acknowledge you. So hopefully everyone copied down the equation that should help you when you're trying to get into the neighborhood. Now, if you notice, what I didn't do in the last video, I kept the release time at the midway point for a reason. I think it's best that you give yourself a place to start, and knowing that the release time can be somewhat program dependent as well as switch dependent, if you will. Because when you're dealing with the 76, you have like a half-life on the release time. For those of you who know anything about chemistry, as you hit the decay on the signal, it responds in a particular manner in terms of strength of the decaying signal. I've said a lot. I mean, this is just the way I'm looking at it. Let's just say when the signal reaches a particular strength, it's 50% as loud, which will give the release time a chance to react to a signal that is 50% as strong as opposed to 100% as strong. So the release time in terms of the transient time and the decay and the sustain, the release time is going to probably respond more to, let me go to the example, more to the sustain as opposed to the decay. So you have the attack, the decay, but where the release time is going to respond, you see, like I said, like a half-life, you see how low the sustain and then the final release time, you see that little knee right there? The actual setting of the 76 is more likely to respond during the sustain and the release time of the sound. Whether it's a vocal, whether it's a snare drum that's maybe just played in a more light pop way or in a more aggressive way, like a rock snare drum, for like a power rock guy like a Kenny Arnoff, it may respond more to that knee as opposed to the up and down, the attack and the decay time. I'm hoping that I'm explaining this properly. You guys let me know. Mr. Morpheus, Tony Dorsey was your guy at Masterdisc. Yeah, he was one of the better. I've never met him personally, But yeah, these guys were raking in her Powers, and Carlton. There was a bidding war at one point going for these guys' services. You know, I got stories with regards to that, but I'll save for another day. Mr. Marvin said Teddy Riley was a beast with the attack. Yeah, okay, you raised another good one. He's another good example of I like his work with Michael Jackson's Dangerous record. You know, that's when Michael hired him to do the Dangerous record. You know, he has a really good feel for, you know, getting the drums. His drums always sat perfectly in the mix. Somebody said, do I remember when we had the splice tape? Yes, sir, I do. I was having a laugh, and then I'm getting off topic, but I don't want to get too far off topic. But I have to let the youngsters know. I was talking to John Kilgore. If you guys don't know who he is, you need to look that man up. 2-time Grammy winner. And he pulled out a picture and asked, and if you guys know what this thing was, everybody over 40 responded, but the kids was like, what's that? What's that? It was a picture of a degausser. You know, when we had to degauss and demagnetize, because I was more of not a mix engineer, I was more of a tracking engineer. Set up mics, you know, set the tape on the tape machines, and that was more of my role when I functioned independently. But we had to degauss and demagnetize the heads of the tape machine between sessions, you know, because as the tape was running by the heads, it would leave oxidation that would, you know, compromise the overall dynamic range of the signal if you didn't oxidize the heads, demagnetize the heads properly. So, you know, yes, I do remember splicing tape. I still have my splicing block, as a matter of fact. You know, maybe I'll post a picture of that. Lion King. So, okay, on the go. 1176 side is fast, and okay, Is it the same as yes. They one thing about the Klark Teknik. Well, let me give it to you this way, and I'm gonna say this once: you cannot go wrong with the Klark Teknik KT-76, an actual 1176, building your own 1176, or with the Warm Audio WA-76. Why? It's one schematic. That's all. And if you know anything about electronics, you can make one of these things for a song. You know, why is the UA unit so expensive? It's a hand-made piece of equipment. Okay, so the Klark Teknik is made in China. They source their own, components, which are, and you all know, I opened the unit up. You know, I opened up everything to see what's inside, because some of these manufacturers will put garbage, and I've had that experience, in their equipment. But the KT-76, WA-76, man, it's a sin if you don't have one. I mean, I know that the WA-76 is a little bit more expensive, but it makes no sense not to have a KT-76. You have an 1176 in your hands. And what the kids don't realize is that back in the day, it was like only one or two of these. Maybe if you went to the Hit Factory, you would see a places, or Chung King, you would see they had like maybe two, most big studios. But smaller studios, like Battery Sound, they would only have one, because they knew these things are expensive units, and they have a sound to them. And now they've come off patent, and everybody's building them, and you can build one yourself, or you can go and spend $399 and get one of these things. Man, would I love to be 25 right now. No, I would like to be 25 with the knowledge and the access to the equipment and the knowledge of today. Combine them, bam, you guys are set. Youngsters, you are set. Set. The only thing you have to do is spend time with it. Don't give up, spend time. So, let's see. Tony Dorsey, yes, we come. Alliance said, OG. Your brother's about ready to retire, man. I'm serious. I ain't playing. I'm getting tired of New York, as we say. Yeah, man, I'm serious, bro. Man, walking these streets, man, y'all don't know. Anyway, let me stay on topic. Hey, Mr. Morphy said, give it a thumbs up and share it. Yes, please do. Please do. I know I'm blabbing a lot, but it's coming from a informed place because I know it's not complicated. I know how simple dealing with the unit can be, provided you just follow a few basic guidelines and keep certain things in mind while and this is in terms of the time, release times being set metronomically. That applies to plugins as well as hardware units. So I don't care, where you're or rather what you're using in terms of dynamics control. The rules are all the same. That's why I say to most people if I'm doing any sort of mixing or if I'm reaching for a plugin, 99% of the time I'm using the digi stuff. Period. Why? It works. And I once upon a time was a plugin junkie. Hi, I'm Warren. I'm a former plugin junkie. I got tired of giving Digi my money, man. Nah, it's all the same stuff. Plugins don't change the quality of the music. Musicianship changes the quality of the music. So you develop that, and you can make a record on a cassette, and it'll go big. And there's plenty of people who've done that in a lifetime. So, hey, man. Wavy Engineering is in the hizzy. What's up, bro? Glad to see you here. Clip Wilson, my man. Clip Wilson says he's a youngster. But Clip, anybody know, it's like Flip Wilson's a play on Flip Wilson's name. But Clip Wilson said he's a youngster. But he says, I want to invest in the Klark Teknik, but I want to know, is it worth the money because the price seems too good to be true? Go back to my live stream. Look how I cracked it open. If there was whack components in it, you know what I said, it was whack, I would tell you don't buy it. Y'all saw what happened to me with the other people, and I was critiquing them, and they was like trying to break on a brother. I was like, yo, stop emailing me, B. But anyway, if it was not a good or worthwhile purchase, I wouldn't tell you to purchase it. And the only reason, which Warm, they make good products as well. The only reason why, one would purchase Klark Teknik over Warm is because of cost. Klark Teknik is what, $200 cheaper than the Warm Audio WA-76. They both are favorable in terms of sound quality. So you're not going to lose, man. You're not going to lose. I have so many friends of mine that will tell you, if you can get most of the problems that you'll have in terms of your mixed sounding quality fall into two areas. The inability to EQ properly, of which I on occasion have been guilty of in my lifetime, and the inability to control dynamics. Again, I've been guilty. That's years ago, but I've been guilty of it because it comes from a lack of knowledge. But once you get it, it's a game changer, B. It's a game changer. You feel unstoppable at that point, but you got to keep, they say, the devil is in the details. You have to pay attention to detail when you're recording it initially. You don't just stick up a mic, stick it in, think you got the preamp level correct, and then turn around, hit the record button. That's just crazy if you don't know where your benchmarks are. So I start where with you guys. I said, okay, well, you need to know where unity gain is. You got that out of the way. Unity is at 0 on that unit. Compression does not kick in until you cross the 0 threshold. Once you do, you might see compression depending on the strength of the signal. Maybe you'll see compression often, maybe you won't. That's okay. Your job as an engineer is to contain the dynamics, to make sure you're not, well, in the case of tape back in the day, saturating the tape to the point where it would distort, and tape distortion was sometimes favorable in certain circumstances and not. But today, with higher dynamic range recording devices like Pro Tools, it's listen to some of the stuff by Tony Shepard's mixes. The late 90s, no, the early 2000s mixes of groups like Take Six. And you'll hear it in action. And he's one of the greatest mixers of all time. Who's a brother. I'm just, promoting him because I like his work. You know what I mean? There's a reason why this stuff sits properly. You're not supposed to be having these drastic faded moves unless that's what you want for effect. But why have drastic fader moves while you're mixing if you could just get it to sit properly? The vocal is king. Vocal is king. There's a reason why, certain artists sell lots of records. They pay attention to that as the detail, Okay, so let's get back to there's another statement. That was for Clip Wilson. Lions King. I wish I had a chance to track on real tape to hear the difference. The warm analog sound. I listen. No, but hey, listen, Lions King. I gotta let you in on a little secret, B. Nowadays, you see, I know I've been saying a lot about UA, and I love my UA people, don't get me wrong. But I had a chance to check out the people's thing in Apogee. And I got to tell you, I think Apogee comes a lot closer to what a tape recorded signal sounded like than any other company. Everyone's mileage may vary, but I was kind of like turned out recently by the Apogee element. And I was stunned, like, whoa, this is the closest and it was an acoustic project that was recorded. And I was stunned. I was like, oh my God. Because your ears know, there are plenty of videos rather, and circumstances that you could probably put yourself, listen, here's an example. If you really want to know what tape sounded like, you can always buy on eBay those cheap Tascam, like a 32 or the Fostex 8-track recorders, if you want to train your ears from that standpoint. But I'm telling you, nowadays, I think Apogee is like, I don't know. I'm serious. Apogee is killing it in terms of like getting close to the sound and the richness that tape affords you. So check that out, man. Check out the Apogee stuff. But here we go. We get some more hard work for it. Yeah, but listen, Mr. Morpheus said, here's the bad part. We spend all this money on gear, hard work for it to end up on an MP3. Yeah. But I think that's about to change, because I did a video about trying to maintain the quality of a master. Yes, the MP3 thing is a sin and a disgrace, because, the quality is lost. Excuse me. But if you want to maintain the quality, you have to record it 192 or rather 96K or greater. Trust me, get out of that 48K thing. Start getting into the 96K and greater, and your ears will tell you. You're going to be like, oh. And if you could send that as the master to iTunes, most of your problems are solved. You know what I mean? Yeah, but the MP3 situation is not conducive with, the final masters that iTunes requires for streaming. It's just they won't accept that quality. Lionskin, okay. I'm so tired of getting sessions with the 2-track beat, no stems. Yet, oh God, this is Mr. Morpheus raises another good point, man. You're getting the 2-track sessions with no stems, just vocals. Today's generation just don't get it. Maybe I should stop and just let your comment marinate. Yes. Yes. And I think they don't, because, okay, you come from a point in time when, yeah, you had to yank like a sequencer into the studio with two S9000s, some S760s, a few rolling modules, and you hit play on the sequencer, and all of that had to be recorded simultaneously. You're coming from that standpoint. That's why that's why I've returned to my roots in jazz and doing more acoustic music, because I don't have a tolerance for that. I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, you get people that are just send me the 2-track, and then they want to know why this stuff don't sound on lock, because it's coming from two different points in time. How am I going to make all these elements agree with the vocal if I don't have a way to control all of the elements? That's what some of the kids don't get. So what do? Complain about it? No, I don't. I just don't take the work. No, I'll farm it off to someone who has time to deal with that. Because then it gets back to what Mr. Pirate Brain said about using a multiband. Then you're reaching for all these plugins. I can make it work. No. Sometimes it just get it right going in. And if you come from that point in time as a professional, you know, listen, you ain't jacking up nobody's A-list talent on a tape. You would be fired. Set the levels properly. Get it right going in. And we'll deal with making judicious adjustments later. You know, but the 2-track, and then you got the vocal on top. All of the elements are not working together. You got several elements winding up on 2 tracks. Then you wanted to agree with the vocal. Suppose the timbre of the vocal works against the keyboard. I've had that happen. You know, maybe they enunciate certain things in a certain frequency range that you can't access to control. Why? Because you got a stem. Hey, man, listen, brother ain't that hard up for work. I'm serious, man. I just don't, maybe I'm just getting old and cranky. I don't know. I just don't, you know, to each his own, you know. But, yeah, man, it becomes that's why, getting back to the Dion Blaze situation, when I was doing the Warm Audio Bus Comp review, that was a lot of the beef had, it sounds squeezed, and I'm like, yeah, because what I got from the client was a 2-track stem. Maybe if I could reach in and control the bass better, maybe things would rise up in the mix to make it sound a little bit more conducive. But sometimes you're kind of fighting an uphill battle to get all of these elements, which were recorded differently, mixed differently at different times, to work together. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. JDS Music, I was wondering about the mods. If you're talking about mods to equipment, there are, I think the best people right now are the Black Lion folks. I used to have a friend of mine that used to, Anthony, Italian brother. What's Anthony's last name? I'll have to ask my good friend bassist Mark Brooks. I met him through Mark Brooks. But Mark played on all of the Alan Glover records. You can check out Alan Glover. He's on iTunes. But yeah, I'm going way back. But he was a tech head like that. He used to like going inside and modding equipment, you know. 2-track is boring to me without a beat and stems. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the difference when you're mixing with stems and a vocal. The object is to get those two to work together. And like I said, sometimes they do, sometimes they, oftentimes, well, in my case, because if you're getting a person who doesn't, you know who does it really good? On Wavy Wayne.wave. He's really good at doing stuff like that. And I mean, I follow some of the youngsters. I follow them. because he's good at what he does, you know. So shout out to him. But man, I ain't got no time. I don't know. Everybody's different. I think the musician in me wants a little bit more control than that, and that's just the musician in me, you know. So let's go forward. And I got some more promo from the Lions King to promote the stream. Yes, please do. Put it on Reddit if you guys get a chance after it's streamed. If you could copy and share it with your folks on Reddit. Yeah, Lions King. Yeah, I know Wavy Wayne. He's no joke. He's no joke. He's funny brother too, But he got it on lock. I like his stuff. Him and Help Me Devon. I listen to the kids. I'm not stuck somewhere in a cave and so old and set in my ways. No, because there's a new way of doing things. Some people have mastered it. That's okay. Wayne.wave is one of them. That's fine. If I got a project where I needed to have it happen and happen correctly, he's the guy I farm it out to. I'm not gonna turn away to work, but I'll hire somebody that knows what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not that clingy. I told you, brother, ready to retire, man. I'm not going to turn away no work. I could be 70 not turning away work. I know how to hire somebody to get them to do what I want them to do. And I'll pay you a decent wage, But Wavy Wayne, he knows what he's doing, man. So he's my guy, as they say. So Weather Music says, I know it's off topic, but was wondering about my 500 rack setup. What are you wondering? Like what I'm using, what my go-tos are, and why? Because everything has a reason. I think when I approach buying equipment, I approach it. That's why I'm saying. That's why I have been singing praises about the Klark Teknik stuff. I approach it from a tool standpoint. And again, I keep getting hate mail as recent as last week about this whole warm audio, heritage audio debate. Youngsters, y'all need to go somewhere and take a nap. Stop. Knock it off. It's getting to be ridiculous because one thing doesn't make the other sound better. If your track is whack in a heritage, it's going to sound whack in a warm. It's going to sound whack in a Neve. The equipment don't magically make things better. Y'all need to stop that. Knock it off already, okay? Come on now. Stop. These things are tools. What would I use an API 512C on drums? Why? Because it works with most drum kits. If you want a clean and pure sound, you reach for API. You want something with a little color, you reach for a Neve or a Focusrite, because that's what Rupert Neve built his brand on. Color, which comes from the Carnhills, inductors, Carnhill, transformers. You're not going to find Carnhills inside of an API, which will give it its characteristic sound. Jensen transformers do not sound like Carnhills. So we need to stop the debate. Stop the debate. I'm serious. Somebody was trying to, egg me into a debate. Warm audio stuff sounds like crap because it's made in China, period. I'm like, yo, B, everything is made in China. Just so that you know. Knock it off. I'm too old, people. I ain't got no time for that. It don't make your music sound better. Listen, you take Jay-Z and stick Jay-Z on a Tascam recorder. He gonna kill it, period. Period. You put Beyonce on a Tascam recorder, one of them little two-track, she gonna kill it. Why? Musicianship. Period. Period. So folks need to just stop with this whole, what's better, reach for the tool and know why you're reaching for it. You don't take a hammer to a plumbing pipe. That's retarded. Don't do that. You will shatter the pipe. You need a pipe wrench for a plumbing pipe. You don't know what you're doing? Hire a professional. They have the right tools for the job. This can't be any more simple than that. Period. So we need to stop with this. Yeah, everything is made in China. Y'all need to stop that. Y'all don't believe me? Go to Best Buy. Reverse. Go to the first 10 items you put your hand on. Look at the back and see where it's made. It's gonna say made in China. Although the president's about to shut that down. That's another topic for another day. Anywho, let's get back to FinX is in the hizzy. You got to give me a little background on you, FinX. You look a little new here. So we got to talk, man. We got to talk. But I'm getting back to weather music. It was talking about the 500 rack setup. Yeah, so it depends on the situation. What do I like and why? Now, I'm not going to get into all the technical reasons why I would reach for my Neve over the warm and vice versa. I'm not going to get into that. But there are certain characteristics which are native to certain preamps that would cause me to use it in certain circumstances. Give you a perfect example. One of my favorite vocalists that I've worked with, Latasha Jordan. Phenomenal. Go look her up. Latasha Spencer Jordan. That's my girl. Love her to death. And Ayana George. Don't know who Ayana is. You're doing yourself a disservice. But Ayana can kill. She's killing New York City session singers. Killing. Work with both of them. I've used a Neumann TLM 103 on Tasha's vocal. I did not like it. Why? Because of the timbre of her voice. The tool did not lend itself well. That's why you have more than one tool in the toolbox. The tool did not lend itself well to her voice. What do you do if you can't buy many tools? I will tell you in a minute. However, it didn't work for Tasha, but on Ayana's vocal, she did a ballad on it. And I was like, Ayana has a sweet timbre to her voice. Excellent mic control. Mic technique, rather. I love the TLM 103 on her voice. So I'm just saying, you got to know when you're reaching in the toolbox what's going to work for in certain circumstances. You know, I like another young vocalist is phenomenal, Marta Sandoval. We did some work about, and Marta she's a beautiful, rich texture to her voice. I put up a 414, hated it. I put up the AKG Solitude mic, which I keep finding on eBay for next to nothing. I don't know why people keep letting these things go. It has a C12 capsule in it. I don't know why. But it sounds great on her voice, you know. So, you know, I'm saying a lot. You got to know what tools you're looking for. So, did you have some Klark Teknik stuff to test? Did I have some Klark? Okay, we have to be a little bit more descriptive. In today's video, no, I've done a lot of Okay, you know, I think you kind of like, you know, prodded me in a particular direction with regards to the Klark Teknik. Again, I get back to my original point. What would you use the KT, and I said this in a previous video, what would I use the 76 on? What would I use the WA2A, the KT2A on? It's all based on the attack time of the unit. In the case of like maybe, let's just say the KT-76. If I had a vocal that had a lot of attack and groove to it, and occasionally the vocalist maybe didn't have the greatest of mic technique, but by and large the performance is killing. A KT-76 reacts to a rapid tempo song a lot faster in terms of attack time, a lot faster than the KT2A. 76 for maybe this rapid tempo song, and maybe on something that's a little bit more ballad like, which has a slower attack time. I'm reaching for the KT2A. Why would I reach for the KT2A in a ballad? For this one reason. When those tubes warm up, man, it just has a rich tone to it. It makes anything organic sound, to me, better. That's why the tube text sounds so great. Why? Because tubes deal with the harmonic character of the instrument. It can produce second, third, fourth order harmonics. So I'm dealing with it from that perspective when I'm reaching for those tools. Maybe you talk about that before, but I have to repeat. Thanks to video, I bought the one more. Okay, cool. But getting back to your initial, this is for FinX. Yeah, just you can't go wrong with the 76 or the KT2A. For the price, I'm telling you, man, everybody should have at least both. And in some cases, for drummers, I would suggest you get two 76s, just so that you could use them in a stereo overhead sort of situation, So let's go forward, Mr. Pirate. Mr. Pirate Brain, thank you, man. I'm gonna show you his statement. Okay, and so let's get back. Let's do a rapid fire wrap up. What is the envelope of a sound? Envelope. This is Merriam's definition. In musical sound, the attack, the sustain, and the decay of the sound. Attack transients consist of changes occurring before, keyword, before the sound reaches its steady state of intensity. Sustain refers to the steady state of a sound at its maximum intensity, and decay is the rate at which it fades to silence. So the first three parts, attack, decay, and sustain, that is the crux that is applicable, to any signal being recorded. It all happens in time, and that time is in relationship to the quarter note pulse. While you're paying attention to the quarter note pulse metronomically, I'm saying a lot. While you're paying attention to the pulse metronomically, whether it's 120 beats per minute or whether it's 90 beats per minute, your release time on your compressor needs to be set so that it agrees with both the pulse of the song, and the overall release time being set properly will void you of any potential artifacts like pumping and breathing that will happen on the signal. I've said a lot. But you have to pay. If I have to leave you with one bit of information, I would strongly suggest that you all pay attention to the beat, the quarter note beat of the song. Set your release time so that you don't have the release time happening on a subdivision where it is working against the quarter note pulse of the song. Okay? Anybody want further definition? Maybe I will somehow demonstrate the improper way to account for it at some point or another. I'm trying to figure it out so that as I'm demonstrating it, it makes sense, because maybe talking at you is not going to have as much of an effect as you A, hearing it, and B, me demonstrating it properly. But one thing that is common to any genre of music is the pulse, the beat, the metronomic beat of the song, whatever that metronome is set to. You have to make sure that your equipment, if it has a release time, that it is set properly so that that release time does not introduce any artifacts into your signal. Period. Because that's where your disgust with your equipment is going to come in at. And that's why, I mean, rightfully so, when people are criticizing my Dion Blaze when I was, doing the bus comp video. That's fine. I knew what I was up against when I was dealing with that music. A 2-track stem and a vocal. I tried to make it work within the framework. So if things sound squeezed up, that's going to be the effect, okay, of maybe me not having total control like I want over my release time of the kick of the drum. I needed that. It wasn't given to me. The snare drums, I needed that. Wasn't given to me. The overall attack of the song, I'm just giving a 2-track mix with a vocal. You got to make all these elements work, the best way they can. So if all you have is what you have, then that's all you can give back, But while you're working, while you're about to record it, get that right going in. Get it right going in. Your ears will be your guide. You'll know if you will hear an improperly set. If you use what I've said in these videos about the proper way to get your unity gain set, if you keep in mind that you're dealing with a fixed threshold compressor, 0, if you keep in mind that the compressor is going to react once you have a signal that goes past the threshold, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. The only way you could screw it up is if you just like totally trifle over how to set the release time. And I think that's, and when you're dealing with the 76, it's almost impossible, So let's go Barn Cat. I like these names, man. This is something Barn Cat. Yo, you gotta tell me where you from, B. Oh man, this is so good there. I love it. Barn Cat. Links for Life is just wrote, my brother. What's going on, man? Yo, it's been a minute, right, since you seen me up on here. Brother had to decompress from some other things of which you might already know, my brother, so. It's all good, though, B. But let me get back to Finex really quick. KT-2A for a voice, or maybe choose the KT-76. Okay, if you have to choose, if I have to choose one or the other, if I'm going to the store for the first time, I'm going to choose based on the music that I'm involved in. Okay? Let me just be clear like that. If I'm involved with singer-songwriter type music, if that's the primary genre I'm working in, if I'm involved with recording chamber ensembles, if that's my thing, if I'm involved with recording duos of maybe jazz duo with vocal and guitar, or vocal and bass, I'm reaching for the KT-2A. If I'm doing any type of popular music, any type of popular, I'm not saying pop music, I'm saying popular music like progressive rock, hip hop, country like pop music, I'm reaching for the 76. Why? Because it's going to deal with the highly transient music that I'm working on a lot better without having to worry about a fixed attack time of 10 milliseconds, which is all that's given to you in the KT-2A. So one is going to give you a more sweeter tone. The other is going to take care of your problems that you may have while you're recording more progressive or more, mainstream type of music. Okay, so if I'm doing more pop music, popular, and I'm talking about popular genres, I'm going with the 76 because that's what I'm involved in. If I'm involved in more organic music, I'm dealing with the KT-2A. That's just me, because of the characteristic of the tool. The characteristic of the tool. If I'm doing hip hop, I am not using an API preamp. I'm using something Neve-ish, Worms, or I'm going to go with my Neve. Or the Focusrite, my red Focusrite Reds. Because of the fatness I'm going to get right out of the box. I ain't got no time to be EQing stuff. When you're a pro, time is money. So you got to be able to, like I said before, you calling a professional to repair your plumbing. And he come in there with a mason's hammer to chip. Bro, you don't know what you're doing. You're not a professional. Apparently. You about to work on my pipes with a mason's hammer. Goodbye. No. So you got to know what you're reaching for as a professional. What's going to give you the result right out of the box without you having to worry about all this other incidental stuff or problems you may run into mix time. The music got to be mixed at some point. So you might as well deal with all the issues while you're recording it. Take care of that while you're recording it. You will save yourself heartache come mix time. So you got to know the tools that you're going to use while it's going in the box. You know what I mean? And for what it's worth, I mean, you're getting a 76 for $399. That's a steal, B. That's a steal. These things are performers, man. They're performers, and you crack it open, you look inside it using quality components on the inside. So you're not losing. You're not losing. You're not losing. John Lance, another brother. What's up, John? Let's see. Please forgive me if you touched on it already, but have you seen the Black Line mod for the KT-2A? I think they had the T4 cell. I have seen it. According to some people, it's a worthwhile modification, I would imagine, because the T4 cells, the photo cells, which rather electroluminescent cell, are the original electroluminescent cell. I feel like Dr. Evil in Austin Powers. Laser beam. Anyway, that's another joke for another day. But the electroluminescent cell that they used in the Black Lion mod is the T4 cell, which is in the original 1176, which by some accounts I've heard responds a little bit faster than maybe the stock electro cells that's in it right now, the photo cells that's in it right now. I don't know how much it costs, but the Black Lion, I would trust their mods quicker than anybody else, because some people, that's just not their business. Would I reach for an arbitrary photo cell to stick in there? No. Would I reach for the Black Lion? Yeah. And I think if you want to get closer maybe to an actual 1176, sure, modify it. Why not? Why not? You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I'd say go for it. But Finex says, I like both, but when I'm recording some voice for rap music, I prefer to plug in 1176, and for something more warm for acoustic. Well, I mean, everybody's, like I said, everybody's mileage may vary. My ears are tuned differently, and I've come to terms with that. That I come from a different point in time than most of the youngsters. Their ears are tuned, to hearing it from a computer standpoint, whereby, I'm used to hearing the original pieces, and my comparisons come from having dealt with original pieces and know whether or not it's gotten close in terms of sound quality or not. But it's always all good, man. Maybe I need to buy both. Well, I mean, listen, the KT-2A and the KT-76, buying both is, I think, just smart. I take that back. It's smart if you're running a pro operation and you're taking client money, okay? Because now you're able to give the client the real deal or some iteration of the real deal for very little money. So you're really serving your clients well when you buy both units, because now you can reach for either tool in any circumstance or depending on the music that you're doing. So, yes, sir. I would buy both. The Black Lion. Okay, when I was looking at Black Lion, that was about the mod. And Phoenix says the Black Lions have a mixed function for the wet and dry, right? I don't know. I think now if you're talking about the actual Black Lion 76, there's a chance that that might be the case. I'm not that familiar with it, but if you have a wet dry function, then that's a plus. That's definitely a plus. You know. KT-76, KT2A, that's his setup. Links for life. Yes, sir. With Juan's cat. Okay, cool. I'm glad it helped, man. Let's see. Okay, and okay, so let's just, like I said, let's just recap because brother been yapping for a minute, and I'll take a few more questions after that. But what we've been talking about is the ability to not ignore the quarter note pulse when it comes to setting the release time on your compressor. Period. Okay, that's it. Summary wise, an improperly set release time will most definitely yield the pumping and breathing artifacts that can happen if your attack time and your release time, if your attack time is fine and your release time agrees with the quarter note pulse, you're just going to get the effect of the compressor. But if one or the other are not in agreement with one another against the quarter note pulse, you will certainly get the artifacting and the pumping and the breathing and the hemming and hawing, because it's going to work against whatever the beat is. The object is just to contain the dynamics, to get it to sit. You want to get as much dynamic range from whatever's being recorded, but you don't want the release time to bastardize what it is that you're trying to attain. So you got to make sure you're paying attention to that detail. Okay, so let's wrap it up. My analogy is you look at a Michelangelo painting. This is Mr. Morpheus. Do you give credit to the brush? Yo, you dropping bombs, B. Y'all better check out Mr. Morpheus because he is dropping gems today, B. Oh, man, that's a good one. Yes, sir. You know, I say it all the time, man. It's, you know, I think about, you know, when I went to, I've dealt with a lot of good musicians, and I've dealt with great musicians in my career. What did the great ones have that the good ones didn't have? Education. The great ones had education, you know, and technical aptitude. Marry that with education, marry that with the right tools. You can't beat it. You know what I mean? So yes, when you're looking at something beautiful art, you know, Beyonce didn't just wake up singing out of her mother's womb. It took some time to craft that talent. You know, I'm sure Jay-Z will attest to the fact that his first demos were not that great. I mean, I'll use myself as an example. Look at my first couple of videos. They weren't that great, but you learn as you go along, you know, and what one should do is constantly try and improve on what, you know. So if you're given the tools that are what the pros are using and you use them well, how can you miss? How can you not turn out the best of the best, provided your musicianship is good? It's impossible to miss. It's impossible to miss. And like I said, nowadays you're getting this stuff for next to nothing. What, man? I only wish. But it's good stuff for the youngsters, you know. And if you keep that quarter note pulse in mind while you're recording, you will be okay. You will be okay. You will be okay. Just don't stress, because I do get stressed with emails from people. Yo, did you tell me to buy something that was a piece of garbage and blah, blah, blah? I'm like, no, it takes a learning curve. No one arrives just knowing. And plus, a lot of the kids, what's happening is that y'all are just being introduced to this stuff. And it's like, I heard about it. I learned about it when I went to audio school or wherever you might have learned about it from in your travels. And now I have to use it. And here's an iteration of it that I want to use, but I just don't know how. Do I give up and just go back to the plugins? No. No, because if you want your music to compete, I'm telling you, the pros that are putting out quality music today on iTunes, they are not doing everything in the box. Do not fool yourself. Don't be thinking you're going to get a mic, stick it in an interface, and set. Well, I mean, I take that back. Musicianship does come into play, but you know when you have that euphoric experience when you're hearing something and it hits you in your heart, and you know that I want that thing. There's only one way to get that thing, is to follow what the pros are doing. I'll give you an example. I remember hearing Rhythm Nation for the first time, Janet Jackson's, and I had immediately reached out to the mixer, and I was like, yo, what was the signal chain? I forget it. I'm not sure if it was Jeff Balding or whoever's the mix engineer at Flight Time. I just sent him an email, and he got back to me. He was like, listen, we used this mic, which was out of my reach. We used this equalizer. We used this compressor. Oh, they're a $10,000 plus chain to record Janet's voice. Yeah, in the right hands. But nowadays, all this stuff has come off patent. You guys have access to all of this stuff. There's no reason to turn out substandard work unless you just are clueless with how to put music together. Then you need to study that. You need to study how to make a record. You know? I mean, that's what it gets down to. You want, why my stuff don't measure? It's not measuring up because you don't fully understand. It has nothing to do with the technical part. It has everything to do with how do I make this thing work or sound like that. You know, it's not about how many expletives you can put into. Well, if I say frick frack, frick frack, frick frack every 5 seconds, it's going to make my music better. No, that's whack. Don't do that. Work on the musicianship aspect, because I'm telling you, I mean, I'm up here gassing Jay-Z, but when you listen to Brush Your Shoulder Off, listen to the groove. And Timbaland is a phenomenal producer. There's a reason why that track works. Study it, learn it, then go create. A fool has himself for a teacher. So don't go you get a laptop, you get a couple of plugins, you get a mic, and suddenly I'm going to compete with Jay-Z. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. His first demos were no better than yours. You know what I mean? You got to sit at the feet of someone, learn their craft. You might have the talent, but you need the craft. Once you get the craft, you are unstoppable. I don't care if you're recording on a Tascam recorder or on a solid state Logic console. You are unstoppable. Why? Because now you have it. You got the craft, you got the talent, and you got all the tools. Go make music after that. It's not about anything other than that. So, without further ado, boys and girls, I'm about to sign off because I'm sure my wife is looking for me, you know, and I'll take a couple more questions, and then if anyone has any questions, and then we'll log off. But it gets down to the quarter note pulse, release times. In order to get it to sit and have it in the pocket, drummers in the pocket, you want it to sit right, then that's what you do. Okay. John Land says it's a great job. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you saying that. I'm just trying to impart what I've learned, you know, because everybody goes through that period where maybe if you're plateauing, or you know that there's this one thing that's missing and you can't really put your finger on it. That's hopefully I'm filling in that space for anyone who's finding themselves in that position. So, and Mr. Morpheus said, we thank you for your time and wisdom, bro. Much respect. And Mr. Morpheus, I appreciate you for saying, listen, man, I couldn't have got through this live stream without you, brother. You was killing the day, B. So, yo, kudos to you. And Weather Music, listen, thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate you guys being in. And I don't want to, Mr. Pirate Brain, you too, man, for your long standing support. I appreciate that, really. And Barn Cat, yo, hold a second. I cannot end this stream without finding out where Barn Cat is from. So we gotta wait on you. You gotta tell me where you from, brother. You gotta drop them gems, bro. So let me know where you from and what you do because I'm interested. Okay, so we gotta hang out for a second for the Barn Cat. And then we got Lion Skin, yo. Yo, this is some good stuff, B. Lions King and the Barn Cat. Yo, they killing, man. They killing. But oh snap, much respect, my son. What? Yo, you a Crucian boy. Where you from, man? You gotta tell this little half-breed Yankee boy here, man. My father is from the Virgin Islands, so and my mother's from the South, so yeah, I'm a San Diego. Oh, yo, B, y'all are going through some changes out there. Matter of fact, my son had a gig that he lost major money on. He had to book a flight and everything, and then it was like y'all just had to go on Oh, and Lions Key's in Cali too. What? Okay, yo, you got to give me some links. Go in the broadcast. Go in the my about page and shoot me some links to your music. I want to check it out, man. Oh, and Mr. Pirate Brain is how. Okay, Mr. Pirate Brain has a question about the and his music. Mr. Pirate Brain, that was a pretty good track, man. I enjoyed it. You know, it was for me a little light on the groove, but I really enjoyed it. What? 5 years in St. Thomas? What? My father's from St. Croix. This is for weather music. What? Good stuff, man. That's good. Good. But Barncat is a reggae dub producer. That's slick. That is some killer stuff, man. I'll make track. Okay, cool. I'm gonna look for it. I'm definitely gonna look for it. But yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. But hang on a second. I gotta get back to Lions King. Y'all are I got my people out in California too, man. Yeah, we roll deep. The Henrys be rolling deep in two places. Puerto Rico. Y'all be thinking like, oh, he ain't even Puerto Rican. Yo, but man, you go to Ponce and Henrys. Well, I'll give y'all a little bit of background. My grandmother, paternal, they had 15 kids, man. 15. I got 15 aunts and uncles. Believe that. So I got cousins all over. I got stories about. I got stories when South Central was cutting up. I got, and we was out there one time, my wife and I, and we went to East LA, and this was the first time I experienced a drive-by. Not me personally, but somebody opened fire on somebody sitting on their porch. It was crazy in the 80s in East LA and South Central. Sick in 80s, early 90s when crack started getting crazy. And then y'all got hit with this pandemic, man. So you definitely got my prayers in terms of that because, I mean, how much beating up can y'all do, man? And Bruno Rene Garcia. Oh, snap. Rene Garcia. Wasn't there a singer? I know it. Wasn't there a Rene Garcia who was a Christian singer? I think so. I'm going to have to look that up. But hang on a second. But I want to acknowledge Barncat is new to the stream. He's from San Diego. Lion King as well. Cali, my Cali peoples. I love you. Right now, most of my people are right now in the Inglewood section of California. So I know Cali pretty well. Yeah, man. I love it out there too, man. Got stories. I got tons. I don't want to binge y'all there, but I got tons of stories every time I go out there. But next time I'm out there, if it's anytime soon, if this pandemic stupid stuff somehow subsides, would like to reach out and see what you guys are up to out there, man. But Mr. Morpheus, last question. Important files that was recorded in 41K. Yeah, man. Here's a little. Okay, I'm gonna address this real fast. Importing files that were recorded at 44.1 to a 96K session, will it make a difference sonically? It may not make that much of a sonic difference, but you definitely want to not leave anything to chance when your terms of either bumping up the sample rate or down and then all the truncating that takes place in the computers. You don't want too much of that happening. You don't, because the thing is that stuff has a weird way of jacking up when you start to trade around sample rates in Pro Tools, especially. Maybe Logic is better, but I've had some experiences where I had to bump sessions around and it don't end too well. So it's better just to if you are reaching out to, or if someone reaches out to you to do a mix for them, for instance, and get them to do any conversions on their end and tell them what your requirement is for the mix. Or if they absolutely must stay in that sample rate, fine. Work in the sample rate. When you bounce out, I would bounce outside of the box at 192 or 96 or higher. So this way, one thing is not affecting the other. But dilly-dallying around with sample rates between sessions, man, that can cause you some problems. And if you're in a business situation, you don't want to be sitting around explaining stuff to a client. Really, you don't, because you just lost a client. So I would just keep it all consistent if I can. Bruno Rene Garcia. He is from. I'm a Brazilian who lives in Canada. You left the beautiful Brazil for cold, brother. You got to tell me why you would do that. Why would you do that? Trade all that beauty and heat and beautiful women in Brazil as well. Come on, man. Unless the Canadian sister, kind of said, come on up this way. But you got to tell me why. Because I know it's beautiful in Brazil, man. I had a friend of mine, Bob Baldwin. Yeah, he recorded Brazil Chill with some very, very famous and then very rhythmic music. It was an ode to good music coming out of Brazil. And Chicory is influenced a lot by that style of music as well. But yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta tell me why you left Brazil, man, for Canada, man. Brother's interested. But I'm gonna take a few more because I don't want to be here. See you guys. Okay. Weather music is in Northern California. Okay. Hey Warren, I love the information you share. Bless you. Oh, Gilbert Benman. Gilbert, my brother. Why y'all? Everybody keep coming to the stream. I see, because I don't like, I'm about to sign off and not acknowledge people who took out the time, and I appreciate everyone's time. So I gotta, as folks are popping, and I definitely gotta, point out who's, sticking their head in the door. So at the bouncing out point, good answer. Yeah, man. I did a whole stream about bouncing as well. So, Mr. Pirate Brain said, I missed your question. Mr. Pirate. Oh, could the warm audio mix bus improve that track? No, I don't know how it was recorded. Okay, so I could bring everybody up to speed. Mr. Pirate Brain sent me a track that I happen to like the music. It was very appropriate for the times that we're in. There's some things that I would have approached differently from a musical perspective in terms of the groove. That's just the drummer in me. But, he reserves creative license in terms of his music. But he's asking if the mix, the bus comp would improve the track. It's not that it would improve it, because there was nothing wrong with the mix as is. I mean, I have preferences. You have preferences. They may not be on the same page, but that's another topic. But if you're sending the bus comp is used if you're going to be sending tracks to iTunes. You cannot send overly aggressive dance tracks to a mix. It's going to compromise the overall sound. Excuse me. So, keeping, the dynamics intact while providing the best and highest dynamic range 2-track mix to iTunes is what one should keep in mind when using any bus compressor. I'm not talking about plugins. I'm talking about if you're bouncing outside of the box to provide iTunes with a high-res file. Maybe that's oh, it was on a 4-track. What? Okay, then I take back every word I said. This man recorded this song on. You should share it with people, and let them know that that was recorded on a 4-track cassette. Then in that case, you killed it. See, this is a good example of utilizing your tools to your best ability and musicianship dictating the quality of the track you're providing. You can't get away from musicianship. In that case, then he killed it. That's just not even. You all need to check out Mr. Pirate Brain because he, I don't know what, you need to put that on SoundCloud. Send me a link so that I could let everyone know what we're talking about right now because that was a very good example. Okay. So, with that in mind, listen, I appreciate everyone being here today. This was good. I hope the information that I imparted is useful. If you guys have any further questions, do not hesitate to reach out. You guys know that I'm open. It's about community. If I can help you and don't feel like, I'm keeping you at arm's distance because that's not the case. If I take a while trying to get back to you, that's because a brother is busy for a minute, but I always answer my emails. So feel free to reach out. This was good. Feel free to revisit the live stream as well as the comments because we were talking about tempo, time, the quarter note pulse as it relates to the release time of a compressor. Valuable information when you need to get an instrument to sit well in a track. That's the goal, to get it to sound like it's in the pocket. Not over compressed, just get it to sit well. That's the goal, So revisit the information. I appreciate everybody for being here. Again, thanks for watching. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you for subscribing. And please look forward to more live streams like these where I'm off the teleprompter. Brother be sitting up there talking, reading a script. That's the other version of me. But these live streams gives me a chance to chop it up with you guys one-on-one and address any concerns or questions you may have in a real situation. You know what I mean? I'm going to continue to provide information from a video standpoint, but this is community, and that's what's most important to me. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in today, and again, please subscribe if you can and share this video. Okay, until the next time, peace.